And welcome in to another episode of Off Script. My name is Zak Herbstreit, and today we're going to be talking about a little Texas Tech football. But before we get into it today, if you haven't already or enjoyed the video in general, do not forget to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot, so I appreciate you guys. But talking Texas Tech ball here, Texas Tech in 2026, what do I expect from them? Let's get into it here. First off, offensively, I expect to see so much more improvement from what I saw last year. Obviously, the run game with Dickey was incredible. He was such an incredible back and is an incredible back, but Baron Morton still was kind of hit or miss with me. I feel like some games he was like, hey, this is our guy. And then, you play against Oregon and he's just throwing up the ball in triple coverage, and you're like, okay, well, why is he is he supposed to be your starting quarterback? So I do expect this offense to be a lot better, especially with the addition of Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati. I know a lot of fans are high on this guy. Huge upgrade at the quarterback position, in my opinion. Not only is he a great scrambler, but his ability to improvise, to keep plays alive, especially, you saw it at Cincy. If you can watch his film, it's ridiculous how where you think a play is going to be dead or he's getting sacked, and then he somehow miraculously just gets out of it and gets a first down, or just yards in general. Yards win games because that equals points eventually. But I think it's just his ability to make plays down the field, get the ball to playmakers is going to be huge for this Texas Tech offense, and I'm really excited for this kid this upcoming year. Another addition here is Malcolm Simmons, the receiver from Auburn. Gaining separation against his Big 12 teams is going to be really, really huge for this kid. He was doing it against SEC opponents, so you can only imagine what it's going to be like against Big 12 opponents. Night and day probably from what he's about to see. But the reason this is such a big get for this Texas Tech offense is because of this guy's ability to just produce yards after the catch. And specifically, I want to zone in on one play from last year against Alabama, I believe, where it was like a 5-6 yard hitch route, and he turned it into like a 70-yard gain, getting down to the 4-yard line, and he showcased his vision, like I said, yards after catch, but speed as well. So if I'm a Texas Tech fan or Texas Tech coach here, I'm like, all right, like, how can we get this guy the ball? Any way possible, jet sweeps, just even down the field, any way we can get this guy the ball, because he's a playmaker. And another thing, too, contested catches, 50-50 balls. It's going to be huge, just longevity of the season, especially towards the end of the season, going against these higher-tier programs, to have a receiver that you trust in general with the game. So big get for the Texas Tech offense. And then taking a look at this Texas Tech defense, obviously it won't be the same as last year as far as depth goes and talent goes, but it's still going to be pretty talented. Obviously you lose David Bailey, who was an absolute stud in the defensive line, Jacob Rodriguez, heart and soul of that defense, but this is still a really veteran group. I think a lot of people, some Texas Tech fans, just the college football realm in general, are thinking, hey, this Texas Tech defense, they're not going to be as good. They're going to go basically from top 3 to being like, just a regular college football defense. That's not the case here. I think they go from being this, star defense to being just, still pretty solid, probably from top 3 to probably top 10, top 15. So you're still in the mix there with being pretty stout defensively. But the biggest thing here is the addition of Austin Romaine from Kansas State. Hopefully he'll kind of fill that void, that leadership void that Jacob Rodriguez had. I know it's hard to do, but defensively, I'm not too worried about this team and expect, a lot of positivity from them. But my concern when looking at this Texas Tech team, and obviously Texas Tech fans can hear me out here or also give me your thoughts on this, but I feel like it's a very talented program in general, and you're going to be going through a Big 12 schedule that's not really that hard. Just call a spade a spade. It's really not going to be too challenging on this Texas Tech team, and you should go through it pretty soundly. But my concern here is when you reach the playoff, are you going to be ready for these playoff caliber teams like the Ohio States, like the Georgias, like the Indianas, like the Oregons? I don't want to bring up that game, but I think that's what you guys suffered from last year. We're going through this Big 12 schedule. Obviously, you lose one to Arizona State, and they were a relatively solid team. But when you go through a pretty easy schedule, how does that kind of sharpen you? How does it kind of get you ready for the playoff? And it's hard to say it will, and how you kind of fix that in general. I couldn't really tell you now. The only way I feel like you could is just through practice and good on good, iron sharpens iron kind of deal. But that's the only concern of mine, is just this team not being fully prepared for postseason play. But Texas Tech fans, I want your thoughts on this as well. What are your concerns going into the season? What are your thoughts going into the season? Let me know. Like I said, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it. I'll see you soon.